let's talk UFC 294 coming our way from United Arab Emirates this weekend. I'm Burt Green, this is the Burt Locker. This is a casuals guide to UFC 294. Effectively, what I like to do with these, I go through the entire card from top to bottom, from early prelims to the main event, and I do information on every fight, and I try and do it in a quick hits kind of style. Fun as well, you know, I like to look on the light side. I like to find the funny in certain things, even if they just have a weird nickname or something. But either way, you do get a rough idea of who is fighting the whole way down the card. It's just so that when you're watching the pay-per-view and you may be watching the early prelims with your mates, you might just reckon, oh, I remember he said something about this guy. Maybe you want more information for your picks. I make my picks, obviously. Don't follow my picks. My picks are terrible. But the information is always there. It's just so that you can get more out of the event on the night. So without any more waffle, there's a lot to get through. I do like to keep these in under 20 minutes as well. This is probably going to be a 20-minute one rather than 15, just because it is a slightly longer event. So let's get cracking. We're going to start off in the middleweight division. Kicking off with, some of the bigger guys. We've got Shara Magomedov, 11-0, taking on Bruno Silva, 23-9 out of Brazil. Now Magomedov, he's the kind of ginger Russian guy. He's got that the neck beard and the same hairstyle as most of the Dagestan cats, except it seems to look ginger in quite a lot of the he's got something going on with his eye as well. He looks like a Bond villain from like 60s Bond films. That is what he looks like. But he's obviously really good. 11-0, 10 knockouts. He'll grab you and smash you. That's what he's looking to do. Now, Bruno Silva, this is a hell of a guy to be making a debut against. Bruno Silva is a savage kickboxer. He had basically a kickboxing match with Alex Pereira and gave Pereira everything he can handle and more. Like, it went to a decision and he lost that decision, but it was a very competitive fight. That's how good his kickboxing is. His kickboxing is so good, he'll get knocked out by Gerald Meerschaert. I'm kidding. It was just he got caught at that one. But either way, look. All jokes aside, Bruno Silva, he's like, watch the knockout over Tavares. He's just got such big power in both of his hands. He can end anybody's night at any given time. He really is good. And look, on every round starts on the feet. For me, I'm going to go with Bruno in this one, just because I'm such a big fan. Not all undefeated Russians are the same. They're not all unbeatable. This guy might be, he might not be. The jury is out. But I'm rolling on the devil I know, which is Bruno Silva, because every round starts standing and Bruno Silva can knock the head off of anybody on any given day. Victoria Dudakova then takes on Jin Hyu Frey in the ladies strawweight division, 115 pounds. You got 5'5", playing 5'3", with a 2-inch reach for Dudakova. Now, Dudakova, 7-0, undefeated, crazy good wrestler. She's the next big thing coming out of Russia, mostly because she's an elite level wrestler who can also strike, who is also booming hot. She is very quote unquote marketable, if you know what I mean. And anyway, she's so good, right, that she snapped the arm of her first UFC opponent without even touching her arm. It was a botched takedown. Well, a botched takedown or an extremely effective takedown, depending on how you want to look at it. Girl posted, snapped her arm off. Oh, it was horrible. If you don't like watching limbs breaking, don't watch it. If you do like watching limbs breaking for whatever reason, weirdo, then go back and watch it. Anyway, Frey, she's very mid. Without trying to be offensive, she's very mid. She's good. She's got good grappling. She doesn't often get the finish. She's coming off three straight losses. It's not brilliant. Honestly, I think Freya's being fed to the new Russian here, and the odds reflect that. I'm going to take Dudakova by submission. Then you've got Nathaniel Wood taking on Mohamed Naimov. Naimov? Yeah, Naimov, I think. From Tajikistan, anyway. 145-pound featherweight division. 5'6", plays 5'9", with a 1-inch reach for Naimov. Now, Wood, he's a scrapper. He's got great boxing. Really nice footwork as well. Really big fan of Nathaniel Wood, honestly. His last 3 wins are very impressive. He beat Charles Rosa, Jourdain, and Andre Philly. He can can get the finish on the ground and on the feet. He's pretty like well-rounded. He's good everywhere. Now Naimov, he's impressive. He's explosive on the feet. He's got good grappling as well. And the guy is a finisher. 7 out of 9 did not go the distance for him of his wins. So I do think that in theory Nathaniel Wood should be a touch better in every single area, but this is going to be a good fight. Very good competitive matchmaking, but I will take Nathaniel Wood, but I am heavily biased on that one because I'm a fan. Mike Breeden, 10-6, taking on Anshul Jubilee, 7-0. You've got the 155-pound lightweight division. 5'10", plays 6 foot with a 1-inch reach for Ashul. Now, Breeden, he's a bit of a weird one. He was really good on the regional scene. He knocked out everybody, and then he went on to Dana White's Contender Series, lost, ended up in the UFC anyway, and lost 3 times so far. He has 0 wins in the UFC. Now, Jubilee, the king of the lions, I have heard of this dude. He was undefeated. He won the road to the UFC Season 1, whatever the hell that is. And he had a really good debut. He smashed Saragi with elbows, so I did actually see that. I'm going to say Jubilee, probably a decision in that one. Abu Azadir from Morocco taking on Cedric Dumas, fighting out of the hood. Probably. 185 pounders, 5'9", plays 6'2", with 3-inch reach for Dumas. Now, Azatir, he's a unit out of Morocco. He's thick, right? He's Mr. Morocco. He is Captain Morocco. I believe his nickname is Captain Morocco. I wonder if he comes down with like a Morocco shield. That'd be pretty cool. Anyway, he's very thick. He's very physical. He hits hard. He's tough to move. He usually likes to stand. His takedown accuracy is terrible, honestly. But he's a big lump. He hits quite hard. Half of his wins are by knockout. Dumas is a weird one. I don't know if he looks scary or if he looks like an idiot out of one of those new Takashi's Castle rap videos, or Takashi 69, whatever. I don't know. The guys with the tattoos all over their faces and weird hair, that kind of crap. I don't understand it. But I'm old as shit. I'm a dinosaur. It's not for me. It's not for me. Either way, this dude looks like he's straight out of one of those videos. He's pretty tall. He's got, he uses his reach pretty well. But he got dismantled against Freemed. So look, the jury is out on Dumas, is what I'm saying. I'm going to take Azatir in this one. I think he's too experienced and I think he's too physical. But I could be wrong. Javid Basharat, the 14 undefeated man from Afghanistan, takes on Victor Henry in the 135-pound division. Now, 5'9", plays 5'7", with a 1-inch reach for Basharat. Basharat is a murderer. He's so damn good. He fights out of Extreme Couture. He's unbeaten. He's slick on the feet. He's good on the ground. He doesn't have any real weak areas, and he knows how to press the advantage when he's going to points. Henry's pretty good, especially in the grappling. His offensive submissions are very good. He usually sweeps or he attacks off of his back. He doesn't go for a lot of takedowns. Now, Henry's going to be a tough guy to beat, but Basharat is likely better in every single area, I would say, wherever the fight goes, but I'm going to say Basharat by decision in that one. Mohamed Yahya takes on Trevor Peak, 155-pound division. Now, this is a super fun one. I'm hyped for this fight because you've got 5'9", playing 5'9". No idea on the reach. The reach is completely irrelevant with these guys. Well, these two, in fact. Yeah, Yahya, look, he's not someone I'm familiar with. He seems like he likes to strike. 7 of 12 by knockout. So look, he can knock you out, and he does seem to like to do that. It's his UFC debut, so let's see what he's all about. Now, Trevor Peak is one of my favourite new fighters on the scene. He's new on the circuit, relatively. Had a couple of fights in the UFC, both of which I've seen. This gentleman believes in 3 things: the right to own a gun, going to church on Sundays, and knocking somebody's teeth out on a Saturday in an octagon, because he just likes to throw down, and he will bring the kitchen sink. He'll throw that as well. Cardio be damned. He doesn't care. He will leave every ounce of him in that octagon. By the end, he looks like he's throwing punches through treacle because he doesn't manage his cardio at all. But I love that. He just literally, he draws a line in the sand. He just throws down. I love that. I respect it a lot, honestly. Smart money's on Yahya in this one, but I'm not interested in smart money. I'm taking Trevor Peak by knockout. Hick Diaz, violent affair, sloppy fight of the night for me, that one. Absolutely lovely stuff. Like, huge fan. I can't wait. Tim Elliott taking on Muhammad Makayev, and I think this is the prelim headliner, it is as well, yeah. So 5'7", plays 5'7", with a 4-inch reach from Makayev. So Tim Elliott, he's extremely good. He's been around a little while. Had he not been around in the Mighty Mouse era, he might have had a bit more success. He's got very strong wrestling, very good control round. He gets a lot of decisions. Now, Makayev is an absolute beast. He might be the next big thing out of England. He does fight out of England. I think he's from Russia originally, but he's undefeated. He's got crazy good chain wrestling. He's a submission machine as well. So Elliott's getting on a little bit now. I still think he can beat most up-and-comers. Like Muhammad Mokaev isn't your regular up-and-comer. He is an absolute monster. So I do like Muhammad Mokaev by the submission for that one for me, Clive. Then you've got the main event. If you enjoy this content, hit subscribe. And then you'll see when all the videos come out. Bell notifications. I do fight previews for pretty much every fight card that comes up. I also do NFL fantasy videos. Anything that comes into my head, really. We have a lot of fun on the channel, so hit subscribe. Said Nurmagomedov then takes on Muin Gufurov from Tajikistan, 135-pound division. 5'8", plays 5'7", with a 2-inch reach for Nurmagomedov. Now Said, he's another one of these guys out of Russia. I think he might be Khabib's cousin. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, he's a bit more of a Zabit vibe about him. He likes to strike a bit more. He's a master of sport in MMA. He's quite well-rounded. But what I did enjoy in his last fight was when Jonathan Martinez, of leg kicks fame from last week, where he just kicked Yanez's leg into oblivion, absolutely kicked the shit out of Said Nurmagomedov, coming as a massive underdog. Everyone was like, oh, Nurmagomedov's going to absolutely batter Martinez, and Martinez battered him. It was lovely to see. And look, not everybody that comes out of Russia is unbeatable. I don't think he's unbeatable, Said Nurmagomedov. He is really, really good, though. Then you've got Gufurov. I'm really excited to see him. He's a judo guy out of Tajikistan. He smashed it on the regional scene. 18 wins, 7 knockouts, 10 submissions. Look, if he gets his hips lower than yours, you're going for a ride. That's happening. That is just it. Anyway, I do like Gufurov in this one. Like, honestly, he's the shorter man, which is actually right into his wheelhouse. It plays into his judo. He's he's thick and he's physical. He's so bloody strong. I actually like him in this one. I do. I think it's a pretty good matchup. And I'm going to take Gufurov. I'm going to take him by TKO as well. Why not? Why not? Roll the dice. Ikram Alexskarov takes on Wally Alves. Alexskarov is one of these combat sambo killers out of Russia. He has ice water running through his veins. 14-1, 5 knockouts, 5 submissions. He will grab you, ragdoll you, smash you, and then he'll look for a choke, an arm, or just beat your face in. And that's just how he does things. Wally Alves is no picnic though. He's a tough guy. He's out of Brazil. Mostly does his kickboxing. He sometimes seems to lose concentration in round 2 though. He's been finished 3 times in his career, all 3 of which were in round number 2, because he just seems to come out with a kind of lapse in concentration. He seems to come out very slow in round 2. I don't really know why that is. Adrenaline dump, whatever. But it's something that I have noticed watching Wally Alves fights, even the ones where he doesn't get finished in round 2. He seldom starts well in round 2, and I don't really know why that is. So with that being said, I'm saying Alexskarov is going to take this one in round number 2, however the hell he wants. Probably submission or TKO. He's going to get the finish. Anyway, Magomed Ankalaev then takes on Johnny Walker. So you've got 6'3", playing 6'6", with a 7-inch reach for Johnny Walker. This is the light heavyweights, by the way. Ankalaev is extremely good. He's extremely good, but for me, you know what? Ankalaev gets way too much hype. He really does. He isn't one of these destroyers that's going around just absolutely smashing and finishing everybody. He's not even that fun to watch. He's a bit of a plodder, to be honest. He's a bit of a plodder. He will do just enough to win, to get the edge, and if his opponent gets injured, then he'll push for the finish. But other than that, he does just enough to get ahead. He tried doing that against Yan, and then Yan kind of equaled that, and it ended in a draw. And he got all pissy about it. It's like, you didn't do enough to win that fight, dude. You just didn't. Right? If you'd have shown some urgency, shown an instinct to finish that fight, you probably could have gotten Yan out of there. But you didn't, because you don't. That's just not how you fight, which is fair enough. Look, if you want to plod to victories, that's fine, but you need to make sure you keep winning. That's a dangerous way to fight. John Fitch found that out. You can go on a 6-fight win streak if you're just plodding and just boring people to death. The second you slip up, you will be cut. Anyway, Johnny Walker is the polar opposite of that. He's reckless, he's fun, and his record reflects that. Look, he's got some losses on his record where he's been too reckless and he's gotten himself caught. But now, I've noticed the more we see him, the older he gets, the more he's over there at SPG Island with John Kavanagh. Kavanagh seems to be making him more patient, more kind of measured. Organised chaos is what I would call it, because before it was just chaos, which is just no good for anybody. And what they've done very well over at his new camp is that they've started eliminating some of the mistakes and accentuating what he did well, which is massive, crazy, explosive power, an orthodox movement, and just a sheer confidence and just raw athletic ability. 6'6", like manages to make 205 pounds. I don't know how, because he's a gigantic human being. His attributes are scary. I think this is an exciting time to be a Johnny Walker fan. I really do. I like Johnny Walker in this fight. People are saying that Johnny Walker hasn't got a chance to beat Magomed Ankalaev. I beg to differ, right? Because the thing is, Ankalaev, as I said, he's a bit of a plodder. He doesn't have one-punch knockout power. He doesn't have that. Like, Johnny Walker has that in his back pocket for the entire fight. In order to implement the grappling, Ankalaev's going to have to get close to Johnny Walker. And Johnny Walker is gigantic. He's going to be so hard to take down. I'm not saying that Ankalaev is not capable of doing that. What I'm saying is he's going to have to take some risks in order to close the distance in order to do that. And that plays into what Johnny Walker does well, which is just the explosive, ferocious power that he can throw out at any given time. Striking, I think Johnny Walker probably is better. I think that he really is. I think Ankalaev is probably a safer striker. He might have a little bit better technique. I think outside of low leg kicks, I don't think that Magomed Ankalaev is going to offer too much to Johnny Walker that's going to give him too many problems. Look, Jamal Hill knocked out Johnny Walker because Jamal Hill has weird, like, soul gems in his hands that literally the second they touch you, your consciousness just goes to another realm completely. Ankalaev ain't that. He ain't that guy. He just isn't, right? Walker's going to be difficult to take down, and on the feet, Johnny Walker can knock Ankalaev out, and that is what my money is going on. I'm picking Johnny Walker in that one by knockout. Then you've got the co-main event, Kamaru Usman taking on Khamzat Chimaev. 6 foot plays 6'2" with a 1-inch reach for Usman. Now, Kamaru Usman, he stepped in at short notice here, but the fight is at 185, not at 170. Plus, it's a big scalp against Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat Chimaev he's got so much hype around him. If you can beat Khamzat Chimaev, be that guy to take that undefeated record, that is huge. And Usman is an elite collegiate wrestler that he mixes in with MMA, almost better than almost anybody not named George St. Pierre. All right, his wrestling opens up his boxing, where he's got lots of power and he's got a very good jab. There is a reason that Kamaru Usman was the welterweight champ for so long. Okay. Khamzat Chimaev has taken the UFC by storm, smashing everybody, using a mix of relentless takedowns and ground and pound and submissions. He is just a destroyer. He's destroyed everyone that they put in front of them, with the exception of Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns gave Khamzat a real fight. He gave him everything he could handle and more. There were times at the end of that fight where it looked like Burns was going to finish Khamzat Chimaev. Right? Like, Chimaev couldn't handle the physicality of Gilbert Burns. And that is interesting because it's almost like skill-wise, Gilbert Burns was very nearly a step too far for Khamzat Chimaev. That was just over a year ago. So now he has to fight the Nigerian Nightmare. This is very interesting. It's very interesting for a few reasons. I see a lot of people writing Kamaru Usman off, right? Just saying he hasn't got a chance to beat Khamzat Chimaev. I think that's a mistake, honestly. I think that people writing him off are making a mistake. People are talking about how Usman has lost twice in a row. Okay, he's lost twice in a row, yeah. Twice in a row to Leon Edwards. One of the best pure strikers in MMA, Leon Edwards, right? I would ask this. Is Khamzat Chimaev striking as good as Leon Edwards? I would argue that it isn't. Honestly, that I would argue that it isn't. And then you've got to ask, has Khamzat Chimaev fought anybody with the wrestling pedigree of Kamaru Usman? Again, I would point to his record and I would say, no. No, he hasn't. Look, he ragdolled Kevin Holland, but Kevin Holland got ragdolled by Marvin Vettori. Not being funny, like, Kevin Holland does not have good takedown defense. Kamaru Usman is one of the best wrestlers to transition to MMA. He's so goddamn good. His takedown defense is something like 93%. If Khamzat Chimaev can go in there and ragdoll Kamaru Usman, then fair enough. He might be the second coming of whatever. But I'm going to need to see that first, because I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen. I don't think we see Khamzat Chimaev ragdoll Kamaru Usman in the wrestling. So that means this possibly plays out on the feet. And I would ask, does Khamzat Chimaev, has he shown that he's necessarily got better striking than Kamaru Usman? And again, I would argue that maybe that he hasn't. Because Kamaru Usman actually has very good boxing. You watch that knockout over Jorge Masvidal. You watch the knockout over Gilbert Burns. Someone who gave Khamzat Chimaev a lot of problems, by the way. You know, Usman got dropped by Burns, yeah, but then he came back and he knocked him out with that jab. Usman's got a very quick jab, very, very good overhand as well. His straight cross, it generates a lot of power, covers a lot of distance. And he doesn't have to worry too much about being taken down because his wrestling is so elite. I think he actually provides a lot of problems for Khamzat Chimaev, and that's why I am actually picking Usman to win. The bookies see that as a big upset, but Usman is by far and away, skill for skill, the best fighter that Khamzat Chimaev has ever been anywhere near, let alone fought. I think Usman takes this fight. I really do. I think people are sleeping on... I think that Kamaru Usman is a well-drilled, well-disciplined, championship caliber fighter who has some of the best wrestling defense and wrestling in the game. And I think I like him to get a big upset in that one. I'm going to take Usman for the win. And then you've got the main event of the evening. It's the rematch. We're getting the rematch quicker than we thought. Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander Volkanovski. 5'10", plays 5'6", with a 1.5 inch reach for Volkanovski. Now, look, Makhachev, obviously we know, he's elite all round, and he usually can win the fight anywhere it goes. His kickboxing, I think, is actually quite overlooked a fair bit. His kickboxing's really, really good. His chain wrestling is out of control. He's so good. Volkanovski made him look human in the last fight. Now, look, Volkanovski skill for me, I think he's one of the best that the world has ever seen. I really do. You watch his footwork against Max Holloway in that third fight, it's unbelievable. His footwork in the kickboxing is on a plane that we've not really seen. It's unbelievable. He gets in, he gets out without taking any damage whatsoever. His takedown defense is fantastic. His jiu-jitsu defense is unbelievable. Ortega caught him in 2 submissions that would have put anybody else to sleep, but for some reason Volkanovski doesn't need to breathe for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, in the last fight, it did seem like towards the end that Volkanovski had figured Makhachev out. And I think that's because I don't think that Makhachev has the cardio to match Volkanovski's pace 4 or 5 rounds. I think Volkanovski could do 20 rounds like that. He didn't even look tired by the end of it. Makhachev looked exhausted. And I think that'll be the key in the rematch. Has Makhachev done the road work to be able to go? I'm not saying that Makhachev can't go 5 rounds. He can. I'm saying he can't go 5 rounds at Volkanovski's pace. Makhachev has to keep the pace of the fight at his level. He cannot let Volkanovski dictate the pace, because if he lets Volkanovski dictate the pace, then he's going to get worn out, because we saw glimmers of that in the last fight. Look, bottom line is, in the last fight, people can argue about the decision all they like. The fact of the matter is, I think the judges did get it right. The judges scored it. I had it. I thought Islam Makhachev won the first 3 rounds. The last 2 rounds, I thought Volkanovski clearly won. Right? But judges' decisions aside, there was one man who was broken at the end of that fight, and it was not Alexander Volkanovski. It wasn't. There was one man asking for a rematch before the decision was read out, and it was not Alexander Volkanovski. Makhachev was demanding a rematch. Makhachev was the one that thought he had lost. He thought he had lost. Volkanovski beat him up so badly in those last couple of rounds that Makhachev thought he'd lost. His gas tank had deserted him. He was exhausted. He was getting beaten up. It was the first time he's ever really had that, not had it his own way. So that is a big thing for Volkanovski to be taking into the rematch. Volkanovski, had that fight have gone another 2 rounds, Volkanovski wins that. Like, the way that fight was going, the tide had turned. 1 more extra round, that's a draw. 2 more extra rounds, Volkanovski probably wins. And Volkanovski knows that. For me, the key to this, as I said, is the pace, right? Volkanovski must push the pace. He must be more aggressive. If he wants to beat Makhachev, he has to be much more aggressive, push the pace on Makhachev in order to wear Makhachev out, because he will do it as well. The key for Makhachev is to keep that pace, grab Volkanovski, try and find a way to get him to the ground and keep the fight at his pace. And it's going to be very interesting to see which one of them is going to be able to implement this. For me, I'm rolling with Volk all the way, just because I'm a huge fan, and my money's going to go on Volkanovski just because he's an underdog and I'm such a huge fan of his. But make no mistake, this is going to be very tough for Volkanovski to do. But look, we don't do these things because they're easy. We do them because they're hard, you know? And anyway, it's going to be very interesting for the fight, because in order for Volkanovski to push the pace, he's going to have to take more risks. Risks leave openings. Makhachev could exploit that and we could see a big knockout. But for me, I think that Volkanovski, his game plan has to be in Makhachev's face, push, 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 bang, 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 just keep that pace on, wear him out, break him, because he broke his spirit in the last fight. He did. He broke him. He broke him like mentally, because he was so tired, and that's when Volkanovski took over. So I cannot wait for this. I could talk about this fight all day, honestly, which is why I've overrun on my time. So you know what? Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, do all those good things. Subscribe. I'll be doing terrible bets later on in the week. I'll put on an accumulator and we can all laugh at how terrible it is. Until next time, keep those odds long and those bets terrible. Enjoy the hell out of the fights, guys, because I am going to. I'm hyped.